like to address the elephant in the room when I come out on stage. I'm in a wheelchair, and I went from 6'1" to 4'7" overnight. And I see things different. And I've learned that difference isn't always better, but better is always different. And so if we want to make things better, we're going to have to change the way we think. We're going to have to change the way we see things. We're going to have to change the way we do things. And that's what I'm looking forward to, sharing a few things with you. But more importantly, I'm looking forward to the lineup, to having them come up here on stage and sharing some things with you as well. Our liberties are being flushed down the toilet. And I believe that we need to bring God back into this conversation. In fact, I want to call down and invoke the powers of heaven right now. We've invited Dave Johnson to come on up here and give us an invocation, an opening prayer, and we'll go from there. Dave.
Our beloved Father in heaven, we are humbly grateful for the opportunity to come together, united in our purpose, in our thoughts, and in our commitment to not only the family, but the Constitution in this great country, which was founded upon religious freedoms, the pursuit of happiness, and our God-given rights. We are grateful for this great country, and we recognize that it is been given to us as stewards. We stand as guardians for the liberties that thou hast blessed us with, and recognize that if we do not take a stance, that we will be left wanting. Most of all, we ask that our efforts will be taken and that we can make a difference. We ask that thou wilt bless those who are in leadership, that their hearts will be guided in the right directions, that they will recognize that they are stewards of the Constitution. We ask that thou wilt bless the family, that as we strive to maintain its purity, as we strive to bolster our relationships, and as we commit to the growth and establishment of strong families, that this country will thrive. We are grateful for all that thou hast given us. We pray for those who will speak to us today. May their hearts be filled, and may our hearts be filled as well. And these things we say in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
All righty, let's bring out our first speaker here. Carlos Moreno. What an amazing individual. I had an opportunity to sit in the back there with your speakers and get to know them on a different level, and I'm looking forward to this. And Carlos Moreno, he is a husband, father, and a Venezuelan asylee, which means a political asylum. He came here to the United States, and he's going to share his story with you. But what's interesting and what's amazing is Carlos came here to the United States, Utah specifically, to the Salt Lake Community College, and he was the first student body president who was a Latino individual. And not only is he amazing at what he does, but he is amazing for what he stands up for. I asked him if there is anything that you want people to go away with after they get done hearing you, what would it be? And he says, socialism is here, is already here, and we need to fight. You guys, give a round of applause to Carlos Moreno.
Hello, everyone. I'm Carlos Moreno. I came here to the United States 12 years ago. It's such an honor being here today in this country with you. I will tell about me in the presentation and in everything that I have to say. I came from here. This is my homeland country, Venezuela. We have the largest oil reserve in the earth. Now, People is dying for starvation. We have so many problems in Venezuela. The problem is not about how we pay things. The problem is the political system. And this is the first thing that I would like to explain, or I would like to tell you. This is all, definition of socialism. When, in the 90s, we were a really wonderful country, happy people in the earth. We have really beautiful things. But what happened? Somebody came with this phenomenal idea, bringing socialism to the country. We're going to talk more about it, but this is something that I would like you to having. When somebody talks to you about democratic socialism, communism, or something like that, just go to the basic and think about it. The key word in this concept is the administration of the means of production and distribution of goods. If somebody tells you that the democratic socialism is about, I don't know, free college, universal healthcare, that's a lie. It's about control. It's about the control of the economy and control the production. That's the specific definition. But a really great man in this country knew about what's going to happen in the country, like in the 60s, when this person was fighting against socialism. And I would like to introduce you with him, and I have for my fellows who speak Spanish subtitles. This speech in Ronald Reagan was speaking about what happening. He met a Cuban refugee who escaped from Castro, and this person was talking about his experience escaping from socialism. And one American, or one of the Ronald Reagan friends, was there and asking him, make a comment like, "Wow, I'm glad that we are here." And the Cuban refugee said, "We are here." This person said, "At least I have a country who escaped to. If we lose freedom in the United States, there's no other place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth." That's why we need to defend America from these crazy ideas of socialism. But I will explain you more about what happened in Venezuela. In Venezuela, we have several situations in the 90s. It's really similar to what happening in America. This guy came. Let's start with the politicians in the 90s in Venezuela. We had this connection between the politicians and the people. They was doing their own business, and the people was totally disconnected what's happening in the country. For example, I had a situation in my state, the largest state in Venezuela, and we had a person who came from other state to run for office for senator in my state and to get elected. And we didn't know this person. We didn't know if this person had the credential to be senator in my state, but this person just get the nomination in Washington, D.C., or in Caracas, my capital, and they came to my state, they campaigned, and he got elected. But this person didn't have any clue about what's happening in my state. And this kind of disconnection is very similar to what's happening here in America. You have some leaders who don't show up to meetings, they don't take care about the people, and they don't represent what the feelings and they don't represent what you believe. Second thing, gun control. Chavez passed a bill in 2008, and he take all the guns from the people. After 2008, starting 2008, all the crazy things happens. They were really repressive to peaceful manifestations. Supreme Court majority, Chavez make a proposal, and he said, okay, you guys can be justice, but we need to increase the number of justice. And they increased the number of justice to get power in the Supreme Court. Nationalization, confiscation, and expropriations. They start doing this a lot. For example, if you own a business, they start confiscating or nationalizing or expropriating your business. The last one, no term limits. Because they changed the constitution, Chavez, when he came to power, he started changing the constitution to make the constitution fit for his political ideology. And they changed the constitution, and also they put no term limits. For example, he had the capacity to run for office forever. And this situation happens. This is Hugo Chavez in downtown Caracas. It's like downtown DC. And he was just putting fingers in buildings and telling, okay, what we want to do? Oh, expropriate that. We want this, and private business. Oh, what is this? No, this is another business. Okay, we want to expropriate this, like a king. And this kind of regime use this to destroy the economy. And when they destroy the economy, they own your soul. Because people follow, what I want to tell you is that when you destroy the economy of the country, the people are depending of the government. And when you become dependent of the government, you depend as a zombie. You are a zombie. You're seeking for food, seeking for basic things. And that basic things take the whole time that you cannot think more in politics and in other stuff. Because that situation, I want to go personal here. When all these crazy things happens in Venezuela, I was here as an international student. That was a really good moment. I graduated in the last school in Venezuela. I talked to my dad because all my professor was telling us like, if you can go to this, if you can leave Venezuela, do it. You need to go because this country, all the law professors in my university, and I take this seriously. And I talked to my dad. I said, hey, I want to come back. I want to go to the United States to get more education. Meanwhile, we know what's going on in this country because they are changing everything really fast. And my dad told me, okay, you can go to America and get, learn English, get education, learn everything about them. And I went to America, and Chavez started another bill. He passed another bill. And this bill is to control the currency. For example, if you want to go to France or any country in the world, you take your own money and you go and visit that country. That's it. And what they did is like they call exchange control, that you need to request a special permission to the government, and you say, okay, I want to go to Germany. Okay, how many days you gonna be there? Okay, 30 days. Okay, 30 days. Okay, you need about, I don't know, $3,000. $3,000, yes. This is all that we can exchange. And they did the same thing with international students. I had to request a permission to the government to bring my own money to this country, One day I wake up and they decide to stop this business, like exchanging the money to the international students. That created the first humanitarian crisis and immigration crisis in Venezuela, because they start doing this in one day. 25,000 Venezuelan students abroad became homeless. 25,000 in France, in Germany, here in the United States, in Canada, everywhere. And I decided to start an organization called it in that moment, Venezuelan Students Abroad, to start denouncing this situation that was happening to us. And because in that moment, we didn't have money to pay our tuition, we didn't have money to pay to come back to, tickets to come back to home, we didn't have money for anything. In that moment, I start, this meeting is in the United Organization of American States. It's like a United Nations just for America. This is Luis Almagro. Listen to us about what happening, what happening to us as international students. When that happens, the night before, I didn't know what's going on in my country. I was sleeping, and I start listening my phone, like tring, 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 many, many messages. I like, what happened? This is a zombie apocalypse. I take my phone, and I had like 1,000 messages from friends, family, many people. Because this guy, in the moment, was the president of the parliament in Venezuela. His name is Diosdado Cabello. He's a drug dealer in Latin America, yes. And also, his head, the value of his head is $10 million. The United States put a price in his head because he's trafficking drugs. And also, he's the second powerful person in Venezuela. This guy one day wake up and he said like, he charged me treason and conspiracy. It's between 18 and 30 years in jail if I come back to Venezuela. In that crazy moment, I didn't know what to do. I went to my college president. I talked to her, and she told me okay, we need to find a lawyer because you need to seek political asylum. I was desperate. In the darkest time of my life, I didn't know what to do. I remember one of those days, I was driving, and my son asking me for a McDonald's dollar burger, and I didn't have any money in my account to pay that burger. Believe me, that was a sad moment in my life when I had to refuse that food to my son. But my father told me, what about you run for office? If you run for a student body president in Sally Community College. In that moment, with all these crazy thing happens, I decide to run, and guess what? I won. Yes. I became the first Latino and immigrant elected student body president. This is mean a lot for me because when this happens, I had that desire to run for office or run for a student body president, and the people in this country, they didn't care about my accent, my color of skin, or whatever, or if I am from Venezuela. They love my character and my ideas. That's why when I hear about color skins or blah, 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 not with me, my friend. I'm grateful with this country and the people of this country because they did vote for me. They vote for me. And the second thing, like, I need like one more year to graduate for my 2 careers here in the United States. I need to run for office again. And guess what? I won a second time. This time was special because that was double of the vote of the last time. I'm so grateful, but I have one more thing. Okay, everything was good. I have my college covered, like my tuition. I have, they gave me a stipend to live here, the college. Okay, I said, okay, I have many things covered, for my family, for my education. But my visa was finishing. I said, okay, oh my God, what I need to do? I remember the most powerful thing that I did that day. I was, during the night, just trying to get this, to go to the bed and sleep. I did it, I can't. I was anxious and nervous, and I was seeking political asylum. And the lawyer told me, like, this process gonna take like years for you. I said, no, I have faith that everything gonna be fine. I went to my son's bedroom. I get in my knees, and I start praying. I don't know, I cannot tell you how long I was praying for me and my family. In that moment, when I prayed, just 2 weeks later, I received a letter from USCIS telling me your political asylum is granted. welcome to the United States. This is my family. My 3 sons was born here. They were born here in America. They are Americans. My wife and I, we are Venezuelan American. But one more thing I want to tell you. In few days, I applied for my U.S. citizenship. In few days, I will become U.S. citizen. Living in this country is the honor of my life. In the darkest time of my life, people like you, helped me to get out of this crazy system and this hard time in my life. One last thing I want to tell you is a quote that I always say. America is not a dream. America is a miracle. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Give it up one more time for Carlos Moreno. What an amazing example of being able to live the American dream. Have you heard it? Live the American dream. Is that dream going to continue to live, or is it going to die? I always say that the problem isn't the problem, because we all have problems. The problem isn't the problem, because we all have problems. Mine may be a little bit more visible than yours. We all have different problems. The problem isn't the problem. The problem is the lack of vision. And Carlos has a vision. And America has been a country that's provided for that vision and that dream. I believe that every problem under the sun has a solution, or it has none. If there be one, hurry and find it. If there be none, never mind it. We spend way too much time talking about the problem and not enough time and focusing on the solution. Speaking of solutions, I think that there are 3 Ds are at the foundation of every solution. And the first D is a dream. And Carlos Moreno has demonstrated that that dream can come true with dedication, determination, and willingness to do even with difficulties. Our next speaker, I love this man. Back in March of 2020, my soul was shaken alive. I don't know about you guys, but I was in Wichita, Kansas playing wheelchair basketball, and we got the news that not the Utah Will and Jazz, but Rudy Gobert and the Utah Jazz were the cause of shutting down the world. So we had to find a flight back to Utah. And I got home and I was like, something is just off. Something is wrong. I could not articulate it, but I just knew something had to happen. And I remember getting a phone call from our next speaker in July, to come speak at the Capitol building in the state of Utah. And I'm a professional speaker, and I told my wife what I was doing, and she's like, well, hun, if you go, maybe you won't be able to speak anymore because people will shut you down. I remember turning to her and saying, hun, if I don't go, I won't be able to speak because there won't be anything to speak for. Our next speaker has a book called Dispatch. If you haven't read it, read it. It's amazing. What he has gone through and what he has done to get to this point is just fantastic. He has some vitamins and some other performance supplemental lines called Freedom Fuels. You got to check them out as well. Some of you guys might know him as the American Moutsos. Others might know him as Captain Moroni. But I know him as my friend, Eric Moutsos. Please welcome to the stage.
I thought I was going to get like Eye of the Tiger music to come out, right? can start this. Are you guys happy to be here? Can you guys give it up for Jake Oakes? And Jody, his wife. These things are hard to put on, you guys. Like there's a lot of work to go into it. When I invited Brother Griffin to come to these events, it was scary because we started to push back a little bit. For those of you who don't know me, you know what I need to do? I need to start this out by, my name is Eric Mutzos, and I'm a recovering government employee. I was at Salt Lake City Police for about 7 years, and I started to see a lot of the political corruption within. Because if you don't think that the far left, I don't like to put this left and right thing, but there is a far, far left agenda that has infiltrated almost every part of our society, from schools to colleges, the media, police departments. And my mom warned me. She's like, before I got into law enforcement, she said, don't work for Salt Lake City. And I said, why, Mom? She said, it's very political. I'm like, what's political about it? It's the police. Like, you catch bad guys. So I didn't listen to my mom, and I got hired with Salt Lake City Police. And I quickly found out what she meant. In 2010, right around 2010, we had to, our sergeant came to us and they wanted us to arrest 5 people per shift. And I challenged that, and I got in big trouble. I finally made it over to the motorcycle unit, and we had to do 20 points a day. And a ticket was worth a point, and a DUI was worth 10. So I chose to do DUIs. And I was their #1 officer, just wanted to, fly under the radar, just work hard. Until we got an assignment. And the assignment was that the Salt Lake City Police Department, we were assigned to lead the LGBT parade in our uniforms. And immediately I knew that I did not want to be a part of the celebration. I said, I will be there to protect the parade, but I do not want to be in it. Long story short, they ended up taking my badge and my gun for discrimination for just simply voicing that I wanted to trade assignments. And I don't come and tell you this, that I am a victim. Do you want to know why I'm not a victim? Because I didn't listen to my mom. So listen to your mom, kids, if there's any kids here. And so what that taught me was that this is a fight. And this is not just a war between conservative and liberals or Republicans and Democrats. This is a spiritual war that we're facing. And I know that most of you, if you're here, you probably have felt that. Why has this felt so off? Why has it felt like, even if they're saying that it's a good thing, why does it feel so wrong? A man named Heber J. Grant once said that Satan's plan to destroy liberty and freedom, economic, political, and religious, and to set up in place thereof the greatest, most widespread, and most complete tyranny that this world has ever oppressed men. He is working under such perfect disguise that many do not recognize either him or his methods. And so I want to ask a question to a few of you. When you think of the word leader, how do you measure a leader? And if you've heard me say this before, don't answer it, but how do you measure a leader? What are some thoughts that come to your mind? You can raise your hand. Go ahead. Okay, so he said, how much are they willing to sacrifice for the people that they protect? I like it. Anyone else? Go ahead. Okay, so how many followers? Results? Does he tell the truth? I like it. Does he really know what's going on? Okay, so he just said that there's leaders in this area that are clueless. Go ahead, all the way in the back. They motivate. Okay, I would like to throw out a suggestion really fast. What if the best way to measure a leader is how many leaders that leader has created? And so the question that I want to ask you today, because I don't have much time, is who are you? Have you ever heard the term, an oak sleeps in the acorn? Have you ever heard that? That if that oak drops a seed, the acorn, and that acorn is raised up season after season, line upon line, goes through the weather, and it goes through, what is that acorn going to become like? Or an animal. We have like 9 chickens at my house. I call it the Armageddon box that we have. Even though feed is like $30 a bag and it doesn't make sense to have eggs now. What is that chicken, if it's fertilized, going to become? What is that chick going to become? So now the question to you is, who are you? Are you an acorn? Are you a chicken? In the book of John, sorry, I got to get to this. I actually wasn't even planning on saying this. So in the book of John, chapter 10, if you guys want to go there in your scriptures, in the book of John, chapter 10, and then the Jews, this is in verse 31, then the Jews took up stones again to stone him. So they were taking up stones to stone Jesus. And Jesus answered them, many good works have I showed you from my Father. For which of those works do you stone me? And the Jews answered him, saying, for a good work we stone thee not, but for blasphemy. Because thou, being a man, makest thyself a God. Does anyone remember what Jesus said back? And Jesus answered them, is it not written in your laws, I said, ye are gods, with an S. Well, that shocked them. What are you talking about? So what Jesus is saying is not only am I a son of God, but you too are sons and daughters of God. So that comes back to leadership. I believe that in the kingdom of God, well, let me ask you this. Do you guys surround yourself with people that bring you down? Not anymore. I like it. I like it. And maybe they don't surround themselves with you radical fringe groups that come to these liberty events either. God surrounds himself with those that are like him. And I believe that those that are like him are leaders. Those that don't need to be told what to do. Those that can make decisions on their own. Those that understand certain principles that govern the universe, like a man is a man, and a woman is a woman, and that can't change. And I should say this, that I'm a recovering government employee, but my pronouns are that I am a son of the Almighty God. Right now we have a governor of the state of Utah that doesn't even know that a man is a man is a man. That's where we're at in the state of Utah. And now we have our media, and nobody's calling him out, to where we have to have Tucker Carlson drop bombs from states across to let our governor know that a man is a man is a man. And what I'm saying is, it is up to us to start raising our voices with these things. I want to read something really fast. In this last general conference, even if you're not a member of the church I belong to, this is a really big deal, okay? Because President Oaks, he spoke about the family, the proclamation to the world, and so I want to read a few things out of it. It says, this was in 95, okay, from the first presidency. All human beings, male and female, are created in the image of God. Okay? This is really important, okay? To understand who you are and that you know who you are. Each is a beloved spirit, son or daughter of heavenly parents. And such, each has a divine nature and destiny. Do you understand what that means? Gender is an essential characteristic of individual, premortal, mortal, and eternal identity and purpose. And then I'm going to go down to the bottom. We warn that individuals who violate covenants of chastity, who abuse spouse or offspring, who fail to fulfill family responsibilities will one day stand accountable before God. Further, we warn that the disintegration of the family will bring upon individuals, communities, and nations the calamities foretold by ancient and modern prophets. We call upon responsible citizens and officers of the government everywhere to promote those measures designed to maintain and strengthen the family as the fundamental unit of society. Because the family is the order of heaven. It is the patriarchal order of heaven. And why this felt probably so wrong to you when we receive letters that come from the government to come to our church to tell us what we're going to do with our personal decisions? It's because it goes against the order of heaven. It goes against the order of the universe for a king to tell another king what they're going to do with their kingdom. Because that is our threshold. God gave us the stewardship over our bodies. He gave us the stewardship over the spiritual and physical well-beings of our children. And God wants us to become like him to the fullness. He wants us to become like him with identity, with a destiny, with a purpose as male and female. That is our divine destiny. Satan wants us to become like him, miserable, fearful, without an identity, without a voice, without a choice, genderless. He is he, but does he have body parts? Have you asked why this whole thing is happening right now? Satan is trying to get humankind to become like him without an identity. And that is why it is our duty as sons and daughters of God to stand up and simply say these truths. Because right now, just saying these truths is considered hate speech. That a man is a man is a man. That a woman is a woman. And so I just want to, first I want to say thank you to you guys for being here. I love to come to these events and I love to feel the spirit of liberty because it is an actual tangible spirit. And in the book of Corinthians it says that where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is what? Liberty. And liberty is God, and God is liberty. And you cannot have liberty without morality. And you cannot have liberty without certain universal truths that we believe in. You cannot. And so I want to leave my testimony with you. Liberty is that our rights, they're not just here in America. The Constitution doesn't give us our rights. Those rights are God-given rights, and they're not just here on this earth. And if we give those rights up physically, we also lose those rights spiritually. The right to life, the right to pursue our happiness, the right to liberty, which is the kingdom of God. And so stand for your rights, because it's going to get a lot harder. It's going to get a lot darker. And so be the light. Be the light that Christ wants you to be. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Give it up for Eric Mouzos one more time, you guys. What I've learned here is if power is organized effort, then weakness is indecisive action. We need to take action. What is being inspired right now? What is causing that fire to burn within you to cause you to act, to cause you to move forward, to cause you to get up, to get out, and to get going? Speaking of that fire of doing something, I would like to introduce, he doesn't need an introduction, but I'm going to do it anyways, but I would like to introduce the founder and the producer of this conference, the founder of Liberty United, Jake Oaks.
Thank you for coming out. We really appreciate it. Running on about hour and a half of sleep, I think. Got woken up to a text from our special guest, Amla Epinobi, saying that JetBlue canceled her flight right as she got to the airport. That was fun, but through jumping through many hoops, and looking around at other airports, because LAX was telling her there's no more flights going to Salt Lake today. By some miracle, we found a flight with 2 more seats on it, is all, about 40 minutes away. She had 2 hours to get down there, get through security, get on the flight. She made it, she's here, she's in the green room back there. She's super stoked. Back in 2020, I was helping organize efforts to protest these unconstitutional mandates, such as the mask mandate. But by winter time, I asked myself, you know what, there's got to be more. There's got to be more to it than just protesting. What feels like there's got to be more to this. And I had this realization that as a conservative, I had gone my entire life to that point going like this. I support the Constitution. I watch Fox News. But I didn't, besides, telling you maybe what's in the First Amendment, Second Amendment, and maybe paraphrasing another, I really had no clue what was in the document. So how can I say I support something I have no clue what's in it? And so I had this epiphany. Oh my gosh, this is what we are lacking. The politicians are not the problem. We, the people, allowed this. We got comfortable and cozy, and we checked out. In America, the United States, more is expected of you if you want the freedom. I've talked to a friend recently who says, I know what's happening is wrong. I know there's evil. And do I want a happy and peaceful country? Do I want freedom? Yeah. Am I willing to do anything about it? Oh, not right now. I just want to go to work, come home, and not be bothered by it. I said, okay, how about you move to Canada then? This is a free country. You can't tell me what to do. Well, you know what? If we want freedom, this is the only country that's ever been established, founded on the idea of natural rights. And if we want to preserve this idea, it's going to require work of us. And so if you want nothing to do, if you want government to run your life, you can move to Australia, you can move to Canada, but we as people checked out. If we want that freedom, there is something expected of us. We have to be involved. We have to study. And it goes beyond just complaining. We have to be able to articulate what our rights are and what the delegated powers of the Constitution gives to the government. I want to ask you guys a question. And this is not rhetorical. Feel free to shout out and answer. When did women get the right to vote? 1920? Let me tell you something. Women have always had the right to vote. Just because corrupt politicians try to restrict them does not mean they did not have the God-given right to vote. The Constitution never outlawed voting for women. Now, in 1920, they ratified the 19th Amendment, which recognized special constitutional protection of that right. But the Constitution, that amendment did not establish the right to vote. It protects that right. There's a key understanding here that our rights don't come from the Constitution. Wait a sec, why? I'm Mr. Constitution guy. Why am I bagging on the Constitution now? Our rights come from God, and the Constitution is his divinely inspired framework to protect those rights. It's important that we understand that just because something is not enumerated in the Constitution does not mean government gets to infringe on our unalienable rights. Interesting fact for you, in 1789, Congressman Thomas Sedgwick became infuriated when the proposition came up to make the right to assemble part of the First Amendment. What was this guy, some kind of socialist? Why is he getting mad about them trying to mention the right to assemble? He was mad because he said it was an insult to even list that it's okay for us to gather. He did not want the idea to develop that suddenly the First Amendment gave you that right to gather. Do you know that the first 10 amendments, before being nicknamed and adopted the name the Bill of Rights, they were first called further declaratory and restrictive clauses to the Constitution? I think that fits a little better in understanding what they are. The Constitution is so crucial because it is the government's permission book. I know it seems way too simple to say, if it's not in here, they don't get to do it. We've been made to think it's complicated, but it really comes down to, do they have the delegated power? I had a friend call me. He said, "Hey Jake, you're Mr. Constitution guy. Is there any sort of clauses in the Constitution that push back on these crazy mandates?" I said, well, there are a few that come to mind. However, you're going about it all wrong. And he was very perplexed. You're always telling me to search the Constitution. Why are you telling me now I'm going about it wrong? I said, because we the people do not have to tell the government some kind of justification as to why we do not have to comply with a tyrannical order. You do not need justification. If the government wants to order you to do something, say, show me your delegated power. If you could show me, I believe in a peaceful and lawful society. We're not anarchists in this room. We give up some power, we delegate some power to our government so we can have a peaceful and order society. So we do willfully give up some delegated power to our government. But we have to remember that power is coming from us. And their powers are enumerated. The name of the conference is Restore the Republic. I want you to consider that for a second. Why did I not come up with some kind of name involving revolution? We all like the Revolutionary War, don't we? Why did I not use the word revolution? Who here has read the 5,000-Year Leap? Awesome. A number of you. That's really good. The 5,000-Year Leap is a book by Cleon Skousen, and it goes over some principles of good government, but ultimately explains how God taught man over a period of thousands of years. He was teaching man how to do good government. By the time we came here, Jamestown, there were still ideas that were different than Great Britain, even though they were under Great Britain rule. And then eventually we gained our independence. We established the divinely inspired Constitution. That's the idea behind the 5,000-Year Leap. And what I say to you is that God finally, after those 5,000 years, gave us the divinely inspired framework. We don't need to revolt. We need to restore. We need to come back to that framework. This covenant land is where God provided that. George Washington didn't lead a war to start a new country. George Washington fought for an idea. As patriots, we are doing good work. A few months ago, there was a bill that was being testified on. And they allowed for public comment. There was 1,000 patriots that showed up at the Capitol. 1,000 patriots. That is phenomenal. Patriots are doing good work. But we aren't the problem. We already support the Constitution, so we don't need to study it, right? It's the others who need to study the Constitution, not us. We're not the problem. It's the others who need to study it. A Bible, I already have a Bible, and we have no more need for a Bible. This sounds ridiculous. But if we pause for a moment, I could tell you that I was guilty of that. If we look internally, we'll realize that a lot of us subconsciously have had that attitude. We must study so we can understand the application of those principles and how to hold government accountable. Not just simply protest, but actually articulate how they're outside the bonds of their delegated power. I want to ask you guys a question. Is socialism constitutional? Are you sure? What if people vote for measures that are is it okay if the people are okay with socialism? Is it constitutional if the people are okay with it? You know, we often talk about this fear of socialism creeping up on us. But I have news for you. We're already living under many forms of socialism. Karl Marx wrote the Communist Manifesto. It was an idea on how to take down the free market system. There was 10 planks to the Communist Manifesto. I'm going to turn here because it's small print on here, but the first one was abolition of private property. I'm sorry, but if government can put a lien on your home, if you don't pay property tax, if you've paid off your home and you have to keep paying the government to be able to use your own home, your property, I'm just going to say that. Heavy progressive income tax, 1913, Federal Reserve, abolition of rights inheritance, confiscation of property rights, central bank, government ownership of communication and transportation, FCC, Department of Agriculture, government control of labor, corporate farms and regional planning. Corporate farms. The market is being heavily subsidized by government to have 85% of the market be GMO seeds, and nobody else can grow those seeds. See, I can go grow whatever plant I want in my backyard, as long as it's not GMO, because that is intellectual property. They have a patent on those seeds. You can patent a seed? Well, if it's genetically modified, you can. And so we have a corporate control and government control because it's being heavily subsidized by our government. Government control of education, public schools. Can anyone show me in the Constitution where we were supposed to have public schools? Can anyone? Okay. I don't want to be doom and gloom. There's hope, guys. The Constitution guards us against socialism. I asked the question, is it constitutional? I run a podcast, and me and my co-host were interviewing someone that's considered highly respected in the freedom movement nationally, and a scholar. We asked him, is socialism constitutional? He said, well, interesting question. We all know it's bad, but as a constitution, I guess in a way, there's loopholes that would unfortunately allow it. My jaw dropped. And me and my co-host, we said, okay, what about the last line of the Fifth Amendment? Nor shall your private property be taken for public use without just compensation. What about the 13th Amendment, involuntary servitude? The list goes on. I want to demonstrate to you that if we just boo-hoo, we can have our voice heard, but in terms of effectiveness, it won't get us too far. We have to study and become knowledgeable of this framework that God gave us so we can restore it. I'm a firm believer that the Constitution still wields amazing power today, right here, right now, but there have been things distorted in it and added. Things crept into it over the years, such as the 16th Amendment, the 17th Amendment, and I can make some others that are not good, and we need to come back to the proper order of things. So that's another reason we need to study, is not just so we can praise the Constitution, but we need to know the good and the bad. We need to identify the things that some evil has crept into it to try to enslave us, and fix those, and gain even more power through the Constitution. But the Constitution, even now, with some of those amendments I mentioned to you that push back on socialism, it wields great power right now. I just want to conclude by thanking you guys for taking an interest in becoming educated. That is the goal of this. That's the mission of Liberty United. I started it because I saw the need to take us from the milk to the beef. With that, I thank each of you for taking interest in that and for coming out to restore the Republic. And thank you very much.
We don't care what they say, it's God over the government.